I am Scott Fulbright. I'm the co-founder of Living Ink Technologies, where we transform algae into ink. So what's the most expensive liquid that we use? It's actually ink, $10,000 a gallon. Ink is 20% pigments that's usually pulled from the earth. It's about 80% petroleum. Comes from places like tar sands. So we have a problem. We have an expensive product that's hazardous for humans and the environment. So we need a solution. The solution is something I know very well. I've been in the algae bioproducts industry for over 10 years, where we use solar energy and sunlight, carbon dioxide, to grow algae. Algae is small cells that are packed full of natural pigments, and we've developed a printer in our laboratory. We can print the entire cell, so not the extract, but the entire cell, for beautiful ink for a variety of products. This first question that comes up, can you make other colors? Absolutely. We can make all these different colors. These are naturally existing algae strains. We also specialize in molecular biology, so we have black strains, which we would own the strain of algae. So we have a solution, cost-competitive, safe, renewable product for inks. We've identified a total addressable market of $2.6 billion in the aqueous ink market, and that's packaging, because our go-to-market strategy is to work with Aveda and use our ink for packaging for their renewable products. We also have a fun second technology. It's called time-lapse ink. We actually use living algae cells as an ink. So I'll call it a greeting card for now, but I could send you a card, you put it in the window, and with sunlight, day 2, an owl shows up. Day 3, I'll always love you. So it's time-lapse communication. So we're excited to be launching our Kickstarter campaign at the end of this month, which is a DIY kit. Post-Kickstarter, we will be licensing this technology to a company in Colorado that will do all the marketing, distribution, and sales. They're already in brick and mortar in Brookstones globally. The way that we make money, we do direct sales of algae, and we also get indirect royalties from licensing fees. So I've done business and product development at several algae biotech companies that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. My co-founder has extensive experience in intellectual property. And most importantly, we know what we don't know. So we brought on a group of advisors who are executives at HP and bioproduct chemical companies. So we do have a patent pending on this technology. We have a laboratory in Fort Collins, and we have 2 employees in our laboratory. So, call to action for everyone out there. If you're interested in the Living Ink product, sign up for our Kickstarter on our website, share us on social media, whatever. And we're also looking to develop strategic partnerships in the packaging ink area. So thank you very much for your time.
So, well, first of all, I love the name, Living Ink, directing the Living Product Challenge. I'm curious, you know, when I hear great ideas like that, are just like, okay, everybody needs to be using this ink. The question is, why aren't they? I know that a lot of sort of my business cards are printed on a soy-based ink, which is marginally better than petroleum inks, but it is more expensive. So what do you see are the barriers to uptake of this particular technology?
Yeah, so that's part of the partnership with Aveda, is to work with their ink suppliers and manufacturers, and so to test the characteristics. There's pros and cons to every ink. Soy, there's pros and cons. Petroleum, there's pros and cons. And aqueous, there's pros and cons. So, you know, what's nice is that there's a lot of work going on in algae biofuels, but those companies that grow algae, they don't have any products because biofuels is too big a market. They don't have enough algae to make those biofuels. So we can actually say we have a red strain of algae, we have a company that grows that algae, we have a bunch of biomass, so we can scale up. That's how we're going to scale up, and we have enough algae to do that. We've already talked to algae companies that can produce that amount of algae. In terms of scale up for us, it's going to be making sure those characteristics are good enough for packaging, that they'll stay on there for 5 years, that they can sit outside and they won't fade. So there's some characteristics issues that we have to test to scale up.
Can you talk a little bit about the pricing model here and how it compares to other inks out there in the market? I'd be really curious about, building on James's question, how it compares to other alternatives.
Yeah, so right now we're about 25% cheaper based on our calculations, and that's because we're not using traditional ink. We're printing the entire cell. So when I screen print my algae ink, about 90% of that's the biomass, which has all the pigments, which is proteins, carbohydrates. We're using that as ink. So we have some additives that we add, which for UV resistant, biocides, things like that. But right now we're about 25% cheaper. However, as we start to work out those characteristics, that can change as we have to add certain components that we may be missing.
Can I just ask a follow-on question there? So
Yeah.
if you're in a printer or what have you, what type of retrofitting do you need to do to accommodate your technology?
So none. So the packaging ink, we're going to use flexo printing processes, which are used like in growing in the packaging industry. So we'll have bulk ink that we can use in those printing techniques. I showed the printer. That's a digital printer that we can print documents. That's going to be a future project. We have that printer that we're working on that we do an R&D on, but we'll be using flexo printing process for our ink.
What's the current percentage for alternative inks like soy compared to the full market, and what do you feel is the market potential over time?
What was the last part?
What do you feel is the market potential over time?
Oh, so about 20% I think are soy-based, and that's the entire printing industry. 95% of newspapers use soy ink, and it's growing. In every way, renewable ink is growing, eco-friendly inks are growing, and that can change based on the raw material or the process that's going. So it's going to grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.